Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, December 4th, 2023. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. As you can see, I'm wearing a mask tonight. By way of explanation, I have been unwell on the weekend and fortunately, I think I'm on the mend, but nevertheless, I feel that it's appropriate not to share the love. So, we'll move forward with a warm welcome to all who are with us tonight, staff, councillors, delegations, and observers who will participate in this meeting one way or the other. Sometimes we invoke technology, and I think we will tonight in a few occasions. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers are able invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such directions will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. Thank you. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. I have regrets tonight from Councillors Blazek and Duncan, which means that I'm going to be breathing that way so that if there's any germ transfer, it's going to empty space. Let us move then to item 5 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol at this time, I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest including those who have declared in writing to verbally advise the chair in public session and to submit documentation to this effect in writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should a potential conflict arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. I have already heard from Councillor Johnston, so I'm going to turn the floor to you for your declaration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.1.2, I'll declare a conflict as I'm an officer of a corporation that owns land adjacent to the applicant, and as a result of that, also 17.1.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Anyone else wishing to avail themselves of this opportunity? All right, seeing none, a few ground rules as usual. All participants are invited to speak when called upon by yours truly, serving as chair. Those participating remotely who wish to speak may draw the attention of the clerk through our conferencing technology's text chat function. Remote participants are asked to generally maintain a mute state in the web conference until I recognize your right to the floor. If when I do so recognize I don't hear you because you are muted or having some difficulty, I will advise and try to send help if necessary. Let us now focus on the people's business. I invite those in the chamber to silence and put away their phones, and I invite decorum once again. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a motion before me for the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting that's a little bit revised from our minutes package or meeting package. And it reads as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved as amended to include delegation from Steve Jefferson regarding item 9.1.1 on the agenda as item 8.2, and the public meeting be moved to agenda item 8.3. Can I call for a mover on this? Councillor Anstead, thank you. Councillor Nordum will be our seconder. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Do we need to hold a manual vote, Clerk Carter? All right. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. We hope the hamsters work better in a few moments' time. Let's move forward then to item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant Council's recognition and or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. Another reasonable length one, there are 14 items on the consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, anything to extract here or any corrections to be made to the minutes? Councillor Anstead.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you, item 7.12.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to extract something at this point? Okay, I think as is our custom, we'll turn to Councillor Anstead and have him present on this subject first.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you, Council will be aware this was in our consent agenda. It's a notice of motion from the town of South Bruce Peninsula, request to amend the Highway Traffic Act for use of automated speed enforcement systems. This council and the public will know that last council meeting we passed a motion to become what I will call us as a major player in terms of public safety, dealing with school bus stop arm cameras. And I believe that this goes along with our right or our responsibility as council to make sure that our citizens are protected through the Highway Traffic Act and through these potential use of automated speed enforcement systems. So I would just be looking for some support this evening for council to send a letter to South Bruce Peninsula and the other major players involved indicating our support for this motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anstead. So I assume moved by Councillor Anstead, seconded by Councillor Richardson, that this council endorses the actions of South Bruce Peninsula resolution that's before us, which is item 7.12. delivers a resolution copy to South Bruce Peninsula and to other major players noted on theirs, plus MPP Ray and MP Nader and anyone else you want?
I think that's probably
Seems
covers
reasonable.
it, yes.
Okay, so I think that's the motion. Kind of put the cart before the horse, before the text. We had the mover and seconder. That's a lovely thing. All right, any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's see if we can have that vote electronically. That's a no. So let's call a manual vote. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, Councillor Anstett. One last call for extractions from the consent agenda before we consider the routine resolution. Anyone? All right, seeing none, I have a resolution before me as follows, that consent items 7.1 to 7.14 be received for information, and the minutes of the November 20th, 2023 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Deputy Mayor Callum, seconded by Councillor Rothwell. I'm not even going to go to the clerk's table. Any discussion or debate on this one? All those in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Let's move forward then. We are on agenda item number 8. We have 2 delegations to council tonight. I'll remind the delegations, in accordance with this council's procedural bylaw, a total time of 10 minutes per delegation is permitted, and that includes both presentation time and providing an opportunity for councillors to ask questions. The delegation is to present on the topic declared on the submitted request for delegation forms, and deviations from the topic are generally not acceptable to the chair or the council. As item 8.1, we are joined by Stacey Ash, representing a group calling itself the North Perth Healthcare Action Coalition. I welcome Ms. Ash and provide the floor to her for the delegation. Let me get the audiovisual settings set up for you. Press the green button on the microphone.
There we go. Thank you. Here tonight on behalf of a new organization called Level Up. This is a North Perth Healthcare Action Coalition. It's come together in the last few weeks based on growing community concerns around healthcare and the future of healthcare in North Perth. You'll see some of the members of the group in the audience here today. At our first meeting, we had 15 members of the community out. We had physicians, folks from the hospital, from the family health team, community leaders, business leaders, again, all united in this growing concern about the future of healthcare. I think it's important to start by saying that we have a lot to be proud of when it comes to healthcare in North Perth. From our hospital, which a couple of decades ago was threatened with closure at one point, and now features incredibly high-quality healthcare close to home. CT, we have a breast screening program that is among the envy of other hospitals this size. We have 12 dedicated family doctors who are incredibly innovative in their practice and their outreach to future students. Mayor Kaysenberg, I know you had a chance to speak with the Doc Talk group last week, and that's one piece that always gets rave reviews from coming students. There's also the new residency program that's going to change the way we recruit doctors here, where we'll start to have 2 dedicated resident spots in North Perth. The Fisher Family Health Clinic is expanding. That's going to make room for more doctors. We've got great work happening with Jan McKegg on physician recruitment. The Hospital Foundation that raises money needed for capital projects like CT, like the new mammography equipment, like the clinic expansion. These are all incredibly powerful things, but it's not enough. If you look at what's coming towards us in terms of physician retirements, in terms of population growth, in terms of what's going to become incredibly fierce competition between communities for very limited healthcare resources, there's much more that needs to be done. This summer, we got our first taste of this in North Perth when Dr. Hayward announced she was leaving practice and 1,000 patients were told that they no longer had a family physician or had access to the family health team resources. That marked the first time for our local physicians where they were not able to absorb a patient load from a departing physician, at least temporarily until a new replacement could be found. Over the next 5 years, you can count on multiplying that tenfold. If you've been hearing complaints on the street or concerns from citizens, we're expecting 6 of our doctors to retire in the next 5 years. Between them, they have a roster of 9,000 patients, with that 1,000 already orphaned and 9,000 more. The future could become very, very grim. We've more recently had our surgeon depart the hospital, so this isn't just a family physician issue. We continue to struggle with nursing resources, and when you look at emergency department closures locally, those are as often linked to nursing shortages as they are physician shortages. In our local emergency department, roughly half of the patients, or almost half the patients coming in over the past year, are unrostered patients, patients without a family physician. Projections are showing that in the next 4 years, 1 in 4 Ontarians will be without a family doctor. That's not going to get better as we are not graduating enough family physicians, and in particular enough that are interested in rural medicine. So we're estimating, because as practice has changed, that we will, just for those 6 retiring docs, we will need 11 to 12 new doctors to replace them. And that does not even begin to touch the rapid population growth we're seeing in this community. It's great. You know, it's not all doom and gloom. There's some good work that's happening. At the hospital, and I sit on the hospital board as well as on the foundation. There's some really innovative thinking that's taking place. Challenges right now with keeping the obstetric department open, partly because we've got a very young nursing staff and a high number of maternity leaves or parental leaves. One of the innovative practices the hospital is bringing in is partnering with the midwives to cover some of those nursing shifts and ensure that local moms are able to deliver babies close to home. The Hospital Foundation is actively fundraising for that clinic expansion, which will make room for up to 20 new physicians. But we also need to look at other infrastructure and potentially recruitment and retention needs. And that's something that will be on the table for discussion. As a community, we need to look at the demographic that's coming through family medicine programs right now. So I've got a slide I can share later that shows the 2025 graduating class of medical school students from Western University. Roughly half, just under half, identify as racialized. That for the 2027 group increases to almost 75%. A significant number identify as part of the LGBTQ community. And so as a community, it's vital that we are welcoming and feel like a place that anyone can call home. Healthcare may be provincially funded, but ensuring we have a vibrant healthcare network here in North Perth is very much a responsibility of the municipality and the citizens. Where we see the opportunity for North Perth as a municipality is to really make this a healthcare first community, to support key initiatives, whether that's celebrating healthcare in a very public way, something as simple as declaring municipal recognition of Nurses Week. It may be supporting fast-track repatriation of foreign-trained medical professionals, and really welcoming and celebrating the diversity that the healthcare professionals bring to this community. It should also mean looking at economic development through a healthcare lens. When we welcome new businesses, when we welcome new developments that bring new residents to town, there needs to be consideration for what the local healthcare costs are that are affiliated with that. If we are requiring developers to set aside or to consider parkland, to consider other investments in the community, healthcare needs to be part of that conversation. an opportunity that, that might be a short-term fix that would support would be looking at declaring the Fisher Clinic a municipal capital facility, relieving some of the tax burden there and allowing that fund to be put, or that money to be put back into recruitment and retention efforts. I think really important to open doors to promote businesses or investment in innovation in healthcare. When you're attracting healthcare professionals, they're going to seek out those opportunities to use their skills, to grow their skills, and to feel like they can be part of that without driving to a city. Political advocacy, speaking with our MPP, with MP Nader as well, on key issues that, as a municipality, you have a very important voice, and using that voice to promote healthcare leadership, making sure that North Perth has its hand in the air when the opportunity comes up to pilot programs, to try something new, to innovate. The committee that met, and there were 15 people that came to the first meeting of this group. It's really an excellent group. Came up with 4 short-term solutions or short-term opportunities for change. One would be to attract an urgent care or walk-in clinic, partnering with businesses that may have an interest in that area, reducing some of the strain on our local emergency department, and potentially helping to re-roster some of those 1,000 orphan patients. Provincial advocacy and areas we've targeted as being really high potential for provincial change, training additional family physicians, so getting new spots open in those medical schools. Fast-tracking repatriation of foreign-trained Canadians. Our newest doctor, Dr. Connors, trained in Ireland. There's a lot of hoops right now that anyone trained overseas has to jump through to come home. And anything that we can do to make that easier is going to be important. And then investigating some new funding models as well sorry, I've lost the bottom of my screen there, but new funding models that increase access to nurse practitioners as, again, a way to help relieve some of the burden. Currently, nurse practitioners cannot bill OHIP directly. They can only work for a physician. Leads to fairly high turnover. We don't keep them here very long. And so changing that funding model, making it easier, would allow some of the basic immunizations, bangs and scrapes that can be treated at a nurse practitioner level to be dealt with there, and free up family doctors as well. Another piece could be looking at hiring resources to help people navigate coming to North Perth from other countries or from other provinces. Certification is tricky between provinces, and we want to make that as easy as possible. If there's somebody that can help with the paperwork and help make that easier, again, it's a quick solution where we could take action and make change. The suggested motion that we'd like to bring to Council is this: that North Perth Council formally recognizes healthcare as a strategic community and council priority, and supports efforts to make North Perth a community of choice for physicians, specialists, allied healthcare professionals, and healthcare investment. So with that, I am happy to answer questions. Again, several members of the group in the audience here that would be happy to take comments or questions as well. But very much thank you for your time and attention to this.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ash. We don't have a lot of time left for questions, but I'd entertain one or two from Council if you'd like to have a shot at this. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. More of a comment. Thank you so much, Ms. Ash, for your presentation. I would certainly like to thank the committee for coming forward to taking bold action on this. It's incredibly important. The municipality as a whole can do an awful lot of things for infrastructure, for any other different element of a service that we would provide. But if we can't adequately at least provide the environment to foster positive health care within our community, then I feel that a lot of that is for naught, so to speak. So we need to be able to at least provide the environment to keep our citizens healthy and at least try and encourage that development. So thank you so much for that.
And as far as the motion that is brought forward, when it comes about, if it's council's direction, I would be more than happy to move that, because I think that's of critical importance to the current citizens of North Perth and any future citizens of North Perth that come forward, and everybody else combined. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Richardson. We'll go to Deputy Mayor Callum next, and then we'll consider what to do with regards to the motion. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And through you, Mayor Kasenberg, and I also echo Councillor Richardson's comments. Thank you, Stacey, for your presentation. And to the committee members here this evening, it's great to see leadership. And what we are in is called a North Perth crisis. We have a crisis throughout all of Ontario, but especially in North Perth. This is no different than what we have been doing to step up to the plate, like we did with the school bus arms. And I think that we're not just obligated, but we need to do this for our community, and I will support any motion that comes through to this council table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Callum. If I might offer a brief response as well. For the last 10 weeks, of course, myself, I know Deputy Mayor Callum, Councillor Duncan, we've been talking because we've been inundated by citizen concerns about the withdrawal from practice of Dr. Hayward. And of course, it's an unfortunate circumstance in life of the community, but what this has sparked me to do, of course, is be involved with multiple stakeholders over the last 10 weeks, trying to talk up solutions and become a facilitator in this. What I do point out gently is that healthcare is a provincial jurisdiction matter. And while there's much that we can do and have done to some degree with physician recruitment, clearly the province needs to come to the table and start addressing things. My concern is when you look at, for example, medical school enrollments, we have probably a 10-year runway before this could be fixed, right? It takes a long time to produce a doctor. And so increasing enrollments in medical schools across Ontario is going to be a significant challenge that is still not being addressed. And yet we've known that there's a healthcare problem for some time. So, I want to sort of carefully toe this line, right? For me, I'm trying to be involved and serve as head of council in being a facilitator in a realm that's not really my swim lane, right?
I would disagree, respectfully. If I may, we would not have the clinic we have here. We would not have the services we have here without community contribution and leadership. Healthcare, local healthcare, is very much a local responsibility.
Again, the province holds the big budget and a lot of discretion around changing things with regards to enrollment in medical schools and so forth. So, a mayor can do so much, and I have tried to inject myself in. In fact, I'm quite convinced that every time I send a note to the executive director of the family health team that she shudders because there's a new idea or a new question for her to try to move some needles on this. I think we must, as I talked about before, and I went on a rant a couple of weeks ago about this, right? We're coming into unprecedented times where we're being called into all kinds of files that are provincial jurisdiction matters, but that largely have been abandoned to us. And I don't disagree with you. I think that we have to be involved. That's why I've been personally involved for the last 10 weeks in this issue. But I think we also have to be responsible to the taxpayers in North Perth. And what that looks like moving forward is to be determined. That's all I'm saying, is that I think we have to be conscientious about our thoughts about how we invest in this file and many other files that typically are provincial in nature. All right, colleagues. Councillor Andreessen.
If I may just make a comment, if you don't mind. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, thank you, Stacey, very much for your presentation this evening. I am the chair of the Economic Development Committee here for North Perth, so it's something that we will definitely take forward as we continue to provide leadership for economic development in this region, and also, with that lens of serving our community in terms of our medical needs, right? We did have a presentation from the recruitment committee through the Wingham and Listowel Alliance of Hospitals. And one of my concerns is, are we really graduating enough grads in our universities who are trained as doctors? And is there a way of increasing those programs so that we can have more grads? That would be great advocacy too. If you're interested as a group to pursuing that, that would be great. Again, whether it's, I'm not sure if that's federal or provincial, because universities are typically federal. That would be great advocacy to increase more doctors in the province for sure. But thank you.
May I respond?
Yeah.
So absolutely, and I think again to Mayor Kaysenberg's point, that's a long game. Getting more seats in medical schools is absolutely a long game. What we're going to see in the coming 10 years is very strong competition. If we don't have enough doctors, every community is going to be out looking for them. Positioning ourselves now to be ahead of that, to make sure that we are a community of choice, will help ensure that we don't have that 10,000 patient deficit 5 years down the road.
All right, colleagues, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Anstett.
Through, and thanks again, Stacey. I'll just be brief. Could we just see the suggested motion again, if possible? Perfect. If I could, Mayor Kaysenberg, I like the wording. If I could just put in something about our other partners that are involved in this as well, being again that this is predominantly a provincial issue, but again, obviously the ideas that are coming forth from this group are great, and I think it's exciting. But just again, to make sure that we capture all of the partners that are involved in this would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anstett. One thing that I find of interest, and I don't want to drag my feet on this, trust me, this is an important community issue. And as I said, I've been working for 10 weeks on this. But I do think that having the possibility of a staff report about this one might be warranted to understand what some of these options are and what their implications are for the budget, to be honest. And so I'm not sure that I would feel comfortable voting on this up and down tonight. I think I'd rather see a staff report on this myself. Colleagues, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you again. On one hand, I can certainly appreciate the want to have a staff report that would come in. However, I feel that the way that the motion is brought forward, it's a commitment on behalf of council to provide as much support that we possibly can at the time. It's not necessarily giving definitive numbers at this point. To be there, to be an ally, and to be on the side of the committee, and to do the most that we can. So it's council's wish, but I would still go with Councillor Anstead's amendment to add in the other partners. And also in conjunction to this motion being passed tonight is to also have a staff report to come forward to look at that. That's my 2 cents. And also, would it be possible, if I might just add to that, would it be possible to have a copy of this presentation provided to council? That would be greatly appreciated.
There's a copy with Sarah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I don't want to drag this out too much further, but Dave, Councillor Johnson looks like he's eager to say something.
I agree with Councillor Richardson. I think we should, I'm okay passing this motion. In fact, I'm very much in favor of it. But I think we should have a staff report to let us know what we are currently doing. I know the deputy mayor is on the physician recruitment, and we do financially support that. So I think we could have a staff report in the future about what we currently do and what we can do, and who that falls to. Chris, likely Jessica. Then I think that would be good. But I would be very much in favor of passing this motion tonight.
Okay. Councillor Anstett, have we got revised wording that reflects Councillor Anstett's concept here? Councillor Clerk Carter?
All that I have added to the end is and continue to work with all relevant partners. If you have another suggestion, we can.
Is that what your intent is, Councillor Anstett?
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, through you. Yes. Again, I think that this motion it's wide arching, but I think that, again, just making sure that we have the partners that we would work with that are listed in that.
Okay. Do we anticipate that we would add another section or bullet to our strategic plan for this purpose? Strategic plan that we passed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, would we add another bullet to our strategic plan? Okay. So we should capture that notion too, that we will update our strategic plan with an additional intent here. All right, let's see where Clerk Carter sits with the resolution.
Okay, so what I have is that Council formally recognizes healthcare as a strategic community and Council priority and supports efforts to make North Perth a community of choice for family physicians, specialists, allied healthcare professionals, and healthcare investment, and continues to work with all relevant partners, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adjust the 2024 to 2023 to 2026 strategic plan to reflect this resolution.
And that a staff report be requested on potential efforts to be made towards this end. All right, I think Councillor Anstett, I'll let you be the mover in this one. Councillor Richardson, you serve as seconder. All right. I could say that I'm comfortable with this, even though I advocate for a staff report. I think that there's symbolism and then there's the practical, right? And we can do both. All right. Anyone else? All right. You're ready for this? Do we have this in e-scribe, do you think? Or? All right. And that is carried. Thank you. All right. For item 8.2, we are joined by Steve Jefferson of K Smart Associates Limited, who wishes to offer comments on agenda item number 9.1. I think Mr. Jefferson is remote. Is that right, Clerk Carter? So, Mr. Jefferson, I provide the floor to you for your comments.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Mayor Kasenberg and members of council. I am Steve Jefferson with K Smart Associates Limited, representing our clients, the Wallacewood Parochial School, and the landowners, Laverne and Marie Gingrich. I just wanted to provide an update for council on what's happened since the public meeting that was held on July 24th. At that time, pedestrian safety was one of the main items that was still outstanding. So after that meeting, we had a meeting with the county planner, Jerica Gilbert, and Lyndon Couch of the municipality, with plus a representative from BM Ross to discuss the current situation on Line 87 and potential implications if this school were approved. We had a very good discussion, and I went away and had a discussion with our clients then on the issues and their feedback as well. So we then followed up and submitted a memo to Mr. Couch, and the main points I just wanted to highlight to you. So as pointed out, currently children are already walking down Line 87 to get to their school. Without the construction of the proposed new school, children will continue to walk longer distances along Line 87 in its existing condition. If the school is built, students may be safer as they will be walking much shorter distances due to the central location being proposed. Safety would also be enhanced as a result of the presence of staff in the vicinity and the implementation of reduced speed signs. These signs will bring pedestrian children to the attention of through traffic and hopefully increase safety. We hope it may also deter some traffic from using that road if they are aware that there is a school with reduced speed. We hope it may also dissuade trucks from using Line 87 as much as they do. Cross our fingers. And we hope that the driver awareness of the school children would be good for protecting those children that are currently using this road. After we submitted that memo, we did have another meeting with Jerica Gilbert and Lyndon Couch, and there appeared to be a general consensus between the planning and public works staff that getting council support and approval for a school in this location would represent proper planning for the municipality. It does create the opportunity to implement pedestrian safety measures in the short term, with the understanding that there would be continued review by the municipal staff to make upgrades to this road when it fits into your municipal budget. I've gone through the staff report, which has been prepared by Nathan Garland, one of the newest planners at the County of Perth. I do support his recommendations and encourage council to support the bylaw. I do wish to point out one small detail in the report for council's information and for the record. On page 5 of the staff report, which is page 88 in your council agenda package this evening, in the planning analysis, there is reference that this application proposes to rezone both severed and retained lands to satisfy a condition of consent. I believe that may be a typo. The purpose of the application is to rezone a portion of the Gingrich lands to allow the establishment of a parochial school. There is no current consent application, and this zoning has no reference to any conditions related to any severances. So I just wanted council to be clear on that particular point. Other than that, as I said, we do support the staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Colleagues, do you have any questions about this matter? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Kaysenberg, and thanks, Steve, for your presentation. I'm just looking on page 93 of our council agenda package, which shows the proposed school location as well as the surrounding properties, and outlined are a number of locations where students are coming through to the school. You did mention about that students currently walk walk as well as have transportation to the existing school. Can you just show us on this map or direct us as to whether or where the current school that the students are attending? Where is that location?
It is located to the east of the proposed location. It's further, I believe it is still fronting on line 87, but so all of these students are all traveling east from their current homes to get to that existing school, which is getting close to capacity as well, which is another impetus for creating this new school.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone further? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. All right, we've hit item 8.3 on our agenda. For the purpose of executing a public meeting under the Planning Act, I use my discretion as head of council to announce a recess lasting the duration of the public meeting. Items to be considered in said public meeting is ZBA 14-2023 related to lands described as lots 7 and 8, concession 13, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth. We are in recess. That allows me to call officially to order a public meeting pertaining to an application made under the Planning Act. Welcome to those attending the public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. I think that's what we're doing, right? And this is a statutory public meeting to deal with a zoning bylaw amendment by D.C. Fotheringham, represented by Woods, Clemens, Fletcher, Cronin, affecting property described as Lot 7 and 8, Concession 13, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance remotely wishing to make comment concerning this application will be given the opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal council's decision in this matter must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission to council. Those wishing to receive notice of the decision regarding this application must notify the clerk via email or telephone, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, I'm going to call for a summary of the application. This will be offered by Nathan Garland, who is a planner with the County of Perth, who works on North Perth files. Mr. Garland, you're not going to need to hold that up. We shouldn't anyway. Let's see how it works.
Let's see how it works. That works great. Thank you very much, Mayor Kaysenberg and members of council. So this is actually a zoning bylaw amendment file, so just flipping lenses a little bit from the last one. The other one is also a zoning bylaw amendment. However, this is the public meeting. And apologies, this is a condition of the consent application, so you would recognize this file from a consent application. So in review of the file, it is ZBA 14-2023. The owners and applicants are Doug and Christine Fotheringham, and the agents is Wood, Clemens, Fletcher, and Cronin. The subject location is located at the north part of the township, Lots 7 and 8, Concession 13, Wallace Ward, North Perth. The municipal address is 6479 Perth Line 93, and then just today's date. Just an aerial photo of the outline property. So you'll see the outline of the retained land. So that's the agricultural lands that were severed off, or the house was severed off. So that the retained lands is outlined in red, and then the severed portion is outlined in blue. Both parcels are looking to be rezoned as a condition of this consent application. Just a bit of a site sketch. So a sketch provided shows the outline of the house, 2 sheds in the driveway. That's also not the right picture that's on there. I must have uploaded a previously dated report, so apologies for that. It does show it's an elongated driveway. There is a newer house located in front of the drive sheds that are there on a bit of a hill, and that area is currently in grass, just for your description, so it's not being agriculturally worked or farmed. So the area outlined in yellow is to be rezoned to A1. So that recognizes a house where there is no currently agriculture. And the area outlined in red is requested to be zoned A-62, which prohibits a future dwelling. So that does not allow for a dwelling to be located on the property in the future. But it does allow for the agricultural operation to continue and keep going. There is the right picture of that house on there. So apologies for that. No public comments or opposition was provided at the time of writing this report. The Maitland Valley did provide a set of comments, and they were not concerned with the application. They also provided comments under the severance application. And it is my recommendation that North Perth Council hold a public meeting for ZBA 1423, affecting lands described as Lots 7 and 8, Concession 13, Wallace Ward, North Perth, municipal address 6470 Perth Line 93, and that North Perth Council approves ZBA 14-2023 affecting lands described as Lots 7 and 8, Concession 13, Wallace Ward, North Perth, municipal address 6470 Perth Line 93. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to address or answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Planner Garland. Just want to check in that due notice of this public meeting has been delivered. Can you comment on the delivery timeline and so forth?
This was provided within the respective timeline as part of the Planning Act.
Okay. Clerk Carter, or anything?
It was circulated as well too, so.
Yeah, notices were mailed out to landowners within 120 meters of the subject property on November 14th, 2023. A notice sign was also posted on the property, and notice of the meeting was posted on our website as well.
All right, thank you for that. You've indicated in your report that you had not received correspondence as of the date of your report. Has anything changed materially since that?
I might turn to Clerk Carter, but I have not received any comments.
I have not received any comments either.
All right, thank you very much. This is the opportunity then for those in attendance to make comments, and they are invited now to do so. First, we would hear from those who are in favor other than the applicant. The clerk is indicating we have had no indication to that end. Are there any opposed that we are aware of who wish to be heard in this public meeting? The clerk is saying no. Is the applicant or the applicant's agent in attendance and wishing to speak to this application?
I did have the applicant reach out and they said their regrets that they were unable to attend tonight.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, opportunity for you to have questions or make comments on this in the public meeting setting. Anyone with comments? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. As I look at the sketch, I see that the septic bed is, I believe it's at the front of the property. And there's a fair bit of land beyond that towards the road. Is that correct?
Through the mayor, yeah, there is a fair bit of land towards the front. It is not, it's the septic bed location. There's also the house that's there as well too. So they've shown a reference of the approximate septic location. It seems like there's a bit of land. Removing that or remaining that with the agricultural land would leave it fairly isolated. So that's why I felt to just square it off with the road.
I guess my only comment would be that that could be cultivated land, which could remain with the agricultural property. That would be, in terms of trying to preserve as much land as possible, that would be recommended, or my recommendation, that's all. Thanks.
Through your worship, it may require an amendment to the severance application that was already approved, so that would be the only challenge that might present itself with this. It would. I haven't measured it exactly how much remaining would be there, but right now it currently occupies the house and the septic as shown on the drawings, so there might be a little fraction, but.
Okay, any other comments or questions at this point from council? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Councillor Rothwell under the wire.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Just further to Councillor Andreessen's question, when we look at page 84 of our council agenda package, I note if we just zoom in on the report photo, if we can do that on our, it's actually page 84 of our agenda package, the actual report photo. The land area that's towards the road in front of the house, if you will, to the north, towards line 93, currently is not cultivated. And that's again north of where the weeping bed would be. So I understand Councillor Andreessen's point, but I think the fact that it's currently not cultivated would be the basis upon which I would support the current situation on that basis. I understand Councillor Andreessen's point, but I just want to point out that it's currently not cultivated, so there's no net loss, if you will, from that standpoint, but thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else with comments or questions from council? Seeing none, I can advise as follows. Notice the decision of council will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Council's decision is subject to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, this public meeting is adjourned. All right, thank you, Mr. Garland. We are back in session and our recess period is over. I have a resolution for our consideration on this matter as follows, that North Perth Council holds a public meeting for ZBA-14-23 affecting lands described as Lot 7 and 8, Concession 13, Wallace Ward, North Perth, 6470 line 93. And that North Perth Council approves ZBA-14-23 affecting lands described as Lot 7 and 8, Concession 13, Wallace Ward, North Perth, 6470 line 93. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Norton. Any discussion or debate on this? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Kasenberg. I'm just wondering, like in the recommendation, like the first piece in terms of the recommendation that we have a public meeting, well, we've had it, and notice was given some 3 weeks ago. I'm just wondering, like, as to whether or not we really need to have that going forward in the future. I think my understanding is that we have not done that historically, but that clearly we're mandated to have the public meeting under the Planning Act. I'm certainly in support of the resolution as a whole, certainly the second point in terms of that we proceed, but I just don't think that it's the first part is necessary from our perspective because the notice was given and we conducted the public meeting. So that's all. Thank you.
It's funny, I was thinking about the semantics of this one as I was reading it out, and I tend to agree. I think probably if we're going to do anything, we should acknowledge that a public meeting was held. I think that's probably more accurately what has happened now with this flow, if you will, and that therefore we can move forward with the actual rest of the resolution. So for sort of
In the future.
Yeah, I think if you don't mind, can we make that change tonight? Let's update the resolution. I think it's cleaner and makes more sense with our workflow. That North Perth Council acknowledges that a public meeting for ZBA affecting lands, blah, 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 was held. Okay? Is everyone sort of generally okay? We don't have a mover. Do we have a mover seconder here? We do. Okay with you folks? Just procedurally, I think that makes it more precise, what we've done. Okay with that? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have the vote.
I know you were. Mayor Todd, I'm in favor. My computer has
Oh, okay. Sorry.
gone to sleep here.
People pointing, and it's like, okay, what am I missing? And that is carried. Thank you.
Sorry.
That brings us to item 9
Yes, I saw that.
on our agenda, reports from departments and key staff. We have 2 reports to consider from Development and Protective Services Department tonight. That's item 9.1.1, County of Perth Planner Nathan Garland brings to the table proposed zoning bylaw amendment to permit a parochial school on North Part Lot 1 and North Part Lot 2, Concession 2, Wallace Ward. The lands are currently zoned agricultural. Mr. Garland is back with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you again, Mayor Kaysenberg and members of council. So I am here to present a presentation on ZBA 8, 2023. The owners are Levine Gingrich and Marie Gingrich, and the applicant is Steve Jesperson. The location is Concession 2, North Part Lot 1, North Part Lot 2. The municipal address is 5023, line 87, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth. And there's just a picture showing the approximate location started on that map. Just an aerial photo outlining the proposed amended area, and Mr. Jefferson was correct to point out this is not a condition of consent, so this is just a rezoning application. The county official plan does not allow consent of this type of file or application, so this is a rezoning, not a consent application. So the official plan designation for the subject property is agricultural, and there is some portion of natural environment located on the property. The municipal zoning bylaw also reflects that through the agricultural zoning and natural environment and natural resources zoning. The proposed change, only subject to that blue area as shown, is to permit a parochial school for a community-related horse-drawn transportation. So it's to permit a parochial school in that area. Just an aerial photo or just a site plan of the subject property. So the subject property is approximately 1.5 acres in size, so that meets the county official plan requirements as per the size. There is shown on that drawing a MDS setback, so the school as well as the other areas are located outside of that MDS setback. That would be controlled through a site plan application, so that's how that would be ensured there. And then just the subject property where it does show the catchment, I've shown that as well on there, and it is in your council report also, where the different community members are walking or getting transportation from. Just an aerial photo, so this is in the summertime, the corn was up, so that's just the sight line looking east along that section. And then public comments, there were no public comments provided at the time of writing the report or following the public meeting, so that was held back in July of 2023. GRCA, there is a small little drain on the property, so they did provide comments. They were not concerned or had no objections to the application. Staff comments, so Public Works did provide comments and were concerned with the walkability and walking along that location. We're looking at the application, discussing with the applicant, so site plan approval would be required as part of this, and this would address the signage requirements to ensure that they're safe for notification for drivers out there. Additionally, a recommendation that shared transportation, such as some kind of service or horse and buggy travel, also would be encouraged out there to the applicants for this application to ensure safe transportation of the kids walking along. Just a policy review. So the provincial policy does support non-agricultural uses in a very limited basis in agricultural areas. Perth County official plan does provide a little more clarification on this. This does meet the Perth County official plan requirements for this application. Zoning bylaw is now required to include for a parochial school to be located in this area. The area size as well as the MDS setbacks are a requirement as part of the Perth County official plan, so it does meet that criteria. And then also a site plan approval will be required to address the walkability signage and some notifications along the roadways there. Public meeting was held in July of 23, and so previously notice has been given to the adjacent residents for comment and feedback. And it is my recommendation that North Perth Council approves ZBA 0823 affecting lands described as North Part Lot 1 and North Part Lot 2, Concession 2, Wallace Ward, North Perth, at the municipal address 5023, line 87. I'm happy to address or answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Mr. Garland. Questions and first comments. Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg, and thank you for your presentation. I totally understand the need for a school for this community group. I do, and I don't believe that the concerns around children walking on that road have been addressed since our last meeting, and it's quite ironic because we have previously spoken about the safety of students on school buses and cars passing school buses, and yet we have a request now for children to walk on a road that, to build a school on a road that to me does not support pedestrian traffic. And I wouldn't walk on that road myself at any time, nor would I want children on that road. And I feel that it's quite a liability to have children walking on that road. And I think it'll cause even more pedestrian traffic with that school there. So that's my concern. I don't think that pedestrian traffic has been addressed. And, this council is very concerned about students and, transportation to school. So I really can't support this at this time.
Through your worship, I think those words were echoed through staff as well too. There are concerns with walking. The rationale, I guess, what we provide is we're trying to identify for drivers as much as possible. So part of it will be the signage application to indicate that either through flashing or an awareness for drivers out there. It is fairly close to the county road to what does provide a little bit better shoulder, so that was also looked at and considered in there. So it is just kind of one farm in from that county road area as well too. I know they have struggled at looking at a number of different properties out there, just looking through not being entirely involved with the file throughout the whole thing, but looking through the previous correspondence and some of the other areas that they have explored through providing alternative locations. And I guess this was the closest that they've settled on. I don't know if you're ever get 100% safe, but this is looking at just trying to create additional awareness through signage, through notifications, flashing indicators, etc. And then encouraging the community to possibly explore shared options as far as transportation, maybe hiring a bus, something like that. So,
secondary to my comments is that this farm actually is also borders on the county road, which, as you had mentioned, has wide shoulders. They could take a corner of the same property and place the school adjacent to the county road, and you'd have wide shoulders for walking. It's the same farm. It's just a suggestion, but it would really solve the problem and the concern of children walking on line 87, which, again, I feel is not safe.
Through the mayor, I know they had looked at, I don't know all the possibilities along that county road. I know that the one farm to the north does have some MDS setbacks from the barn location, so that was driving a little bit of the discussion and pushing it towards the one corner. So.
Okay, colleagues, anyone else with comments or questions? Councillor Johnston.
I understand the concerns with walking, but actually with the placement of the school, the kids will be walking less because right now they're walking down or traveling through into Mapleton. And I can tell you, if you think our road's narrow, the Mapleton Road is 8 times worse. And it's rough, and drivers are going to lose control on that road. So actually, I think the kids will be actually traveling less. And if you look, if I look at the map, so in your report or in the Mr. Jefferson's report, there was the catchment area that back there. A lot of the kids are coming off of 86, so they're going to be coming down. Well, they got to get off it. You can't put a school on 86, that is for sure. But they're going to be coming down the county road. So I don't mind the spot where the school is. I think it makes sense on the farm for Laverne and Marie to put it where it is. And I think the kids will be walking less distance on dangerous roads than what they currently are. Because right now they're going quite a bit into Mapleton on a very poor road. So I'm good with this where it is.
Okay, anyone else with comments or questions? Councillor Nordholm?
Yeah, thanks to you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Yeah, the concerns are very valid. And I echo what Councillor Johnson has said as well. I think with our new master plan coming up, I think this is something that we're going to really have to look at, making sure those shoulders are wide enough and signage, and I'm sure staff is way ahead of us on that. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with comments or questions? How busy is the county road? This County Road 9. It's busy, right? So it has wide shoulders, but that's still not great for pedestrians, right? Like wide shoulders on a busy road doesn't necessarily solve the problems. I'm just asking to understand the engineering in that area and the traffic flow. Councillor Andreessen, last time, no.
If I was walking, I would prefer to walk on that county road because of the shoulder. I can get off on that shoulder, and I know I'm not going to get hit. With the size of the shoulders on 87, there's really no place to go. But even though it's busier on that county road, there is a place to go. There is a shoulder to walk on that you can clearly, be safe on that gravel.
I find myself wondering whether I'm just a fool and don't understand these kind of things, but wouldn't it make sense to try to widen the shoulder on 87 to the school so that you have greater coverage of space?
Yeah.
Is that a fair question? I don't know. I'm no expert. Councillor Johnson looks like he's an expert. All right, come on in.
I'm by no means an expert on anything. I just think that whole road needs widened, though. Not just, yes, we need wider there, but I think if you ask Lyndon at some point in his future, that road, yes, if children are walking on one side and a car could swing out around them, yes, but if they're meeting traffic, there is not room for somebody walking and 2 vehicles to pass. Definitely not. And definitely if there's tractor traffic or whatever, there's definitely that road is one of our worst roads in North Perth for agriculture equipment, and it's a very busy agricultural road. But I'm sure Lyndon has heard me preaching for 16, 18, 22 years that we need a new third of Wallace. That is a given, and eventually it will come, and it will need to be widened substantially. There is no shoulders on that road anywhere, and when you are meeting traffic with a tractor, it's terrible without kids walking on it. So I do agree, it's going to be dangerous, but they're only walking, some of them will only be walking the length of the farm, the width of the one farm.
From the county road.
From the county road, you're right. And that county road, the traffic flies. It's not as bad as 86, but it's a first cousin.
Do you feel confident? Sorry, I'm just posing a hypothetical, like, Do kids feel confident walking on a county road, on the shoulder of a county road? I don't know. I just, Councillor Noto, anything on this one?
We can talk about putting it on the county road, but as he said, that MDS is a big factor in putting it close to the county road. But also, right now, the goal is from Linden and Public Works is to rebuild roads 2 kilometers at a time and really widen them out. They've just done a road by our place, and it's done really well. And right now, the Third of Wallace it's getting rougher, and pretty soon, I think that it'll be a candidate, and as well with our master plan. I think we'll get there, but right now, these people need a spot, and this is as good as any.
Okay, Clerk Carter.
Mr. Jefferson is still on the call. He's raised his hand in the chat if council wishes for him to weigh in.
Oh, yes, I'm happy to recognize Mr. Jefferson if he has some comments.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Kaysenberg. Just a brief comment on the municipal plans to review all of the roads like this and work on your master plan. That was part of our discussions with Lyndon Couch. I noticed in your agenda package the outstanding staff reports, and I believe Mr. Couch is coming back later this month with information on line 87 west of Highway 23. And he recognized that this section east of Highway 23 has also been on the municipal radar for quite some time. However, that western leg of the road has been a higher priority as part of the bypass around Listowel. So I just wanted to reassure council that Mr. Couch is well aware of this and many other roads that do need to be looked at as part of our discussion with our clients, some of them that are along this stretch of road. If at some point in the future a redesign of this road requires some widening from some of the adjacent farm properties, our clients are willing to have those discussions with the municipality to help accommodate widening of the shoulders and improve the safety. So I appreciate your comments. We're well aware of the issue. I just want to reiterate that this is an existing situation for the students currently walking on this road, and that by moving ahead with the school at this site, it would at least allow the municipality to obtain the signage from my clients as part of that safety improvement measures, signage and reduced speeds. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Nathan, through to you. During your discussions with Public Works, was there discussions about the actual traffic counts along Line 87, along Perth Road 140, as well as Perth Line 86, so that we can actually understand the volumes of traffic that we're talking about?
Through you, Mayor, in response to Councillor Rothwell's question, I didn't get into specific traffic numbers with Public Works. I know it's busy. The comment was it's a fairly busy, high traffic road, high traffic area. It's also a shared transportation area with walking and horse and buggy traffic and vehicles as well too. So that's the balancing act that we're struggling with right now a little bit. The signage was kind of a bit of the compromise that seemed to carry through with the discussions as far as notifications. And those signs haven't been confirmed to locations, but we've included that for the site plan agreement to address through there. So
just further to the discussion point. So again, I'd asked the question earlier and Councillor Johnson just mentioned to it. So my understanding is that these students are currently walking along the extension of Line 87, just east of, the school is located just east of the hamlet of Lebanon, I believe. And so this is significantly closer for the majority of the public that are going to be, students that are going to be walking there. So on that basis, I'm certainly supportive of the location. I would also say that in terms of this location and discussion of possible road widening, it's crucial that we have that conversation, and I'm glad to hear the applicants are willing to look at the road widening on the south side in particular, so that students would have more room to walk. I would also lastly note that there is a parochial school east of this location on Perth Line 86, and anyone that's driven that location will know that is one of the busiest roads within our county in terms of Perth Line 86. And I would agree, I would not want children walking along Perth Line 86. However, that is a current situation on Perth Line 86, just within one concession east of here. So when I look overall at my perspective and understanding what the community would like to have for their children, what they believe to be a safe location, and in conjunction with the suggested signage, but more importantly, the possible improvements of this road, I'm supportive of that, and hopefully when we hear from Public Works, Lynn Couch specifically, perhaps we can get some of those numbers to look at traffic along 87 as well as Perth Road 140 and Perth Line 86, so we have a true understanding of numbers of roads, and as to whether or not we get a breakdown, I suspect we won't, but we've heard from farmers in the area, certainly Councillor Andreessen, Councillor Nordham, and Councillor Johnson have traveled this road on farm equipment, so they know that there's a lot of farm equipment there as well, but as well as the horse and buggy traffic. So on that basis, I'm certainly willing to support the application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with comments? All right. I don't think we have the resolution on the floor, do we? No. Okay, so I have a resolution then for our consideration at this point. The North Perth Council approves ZBA-08-23 affecting lands described as North Part Lot 1 and North Part Lot 2, Concession 2, Wallace Ward, North Perth, 5023, line 87. Moved by Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Nordham. Any discussion or debate further? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that's carried. Thank you. I do hope that we see something about this in the near future with regards to line 87. I think that sounds like an important update. All right, next we have item 9.1.2. Again, Mr. Garland brings to the table zoning bylaw amendment 11-2023, which will permit up to 2 on-farm diversified uses on lands that will be considered for an official plan amendment number 219 to the County of Perth official plan. The lands are currently zoned agricultural. This tabling of a zoning bylaw amendment is an action to expedite, since the approval authority for the official plan amendment has yet to decide on said amendment. Mr. Garland, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Kaysenberg, members of council again. So I do not have a presentation tonight. It is just a staff report for this. It was requested that we bring back just the plain language wording to this next following council meeting. So it is included in the report. I've also made a comment in the background information and recommended that this will continue forward just to make sure that these keep on going with the applications moving forward. So there are 2 requested action items or requested motions in this staff report. So I'm happy to address or answer any questions from council at this time.
Colleagues, discussion, questions at this point? I have one sort of theoretical question, and I want to make sure I understand, because I did miss the last council meeting where this matter was more fulsomely addressed. How many on-farm diversified use businesses would we allow on a single farm?
In response to your worship, we currently allow 1 in the North Perth zoning bylaw, and that's consistent with the Perth County official plan. So it is currently 1 on-farm diversified use. You are permitted a farm use as well too. So like a food market stand, if you grow your own vegetables and sell them, that's just permitted as of right. So.
Okay, so this one proposes that we go to 2.
This request two on-farm diversified uses.
Which is a deviation from the official plan, hence the
and
whole
the zoning
process.
bylaw, so it's to allow for the mechanic shop and the flower business to sell those two
Okay.
items.
If someone came in with a request for 4 on-farm diversified use businesses, what would happen?
It would have to be looked at and assessed wholly through both the operation and works. So it may be as part of I'll say a larger market. We're seeing some of these like larger market gardens, stalls, or operations happening. So it would have to be assessed at what the farm businesses were, or on-farm business or diversified uses were. I guess I would question how they're being supported by on-farm. Typically, an on-farm business has to be run by the people who are living on the farm. So there might be some questions around how those are actually being run by individuals on a farm, for instance. So that would be part of the discussion. So I'm not sure if that answered your question or talked around it a little bit. But.
I guess I'm asking the questions because I'm vaguely uncomfortable with the precedent that we will set here, right? Notionally, I get that the provincial policy statement wants to encourage on-farm diversified use, but at the same time, if we're sort of sitting in a gray area where we can't define how many on-farm diversified uses we would tolerate, I find that a bit concerning, perhaps something that needs to be addressed in the official plan. Now, all of this, I suppose, is grumpy Mayor Todd talking, because the truth of the matter is I've spent the better part of the last 5 years of my life talking about a new official plan. And what in practice this could do is change all the need for official planning in some ways, and I know that's extreme, Mr. Garland, but changes the whole basis of that, because anyone in an agricultural zone could come forward and say, I want to put in 4 or 5 on-farm diversified uses, and essentially create a mini mall out in the middle of farm country. I find that disturbing, actually, because we spend all this time, and I've spent hours and hours, see the gray hair on my head, official plan stuff. So I'm concerned. I'm very torn on this one, because I want to support entrepreneurialism and I understand its value in our community. But at the same time, this seems risky to sort of subrogate or defy official planning as a practice, and that's worrisome to me. You can comment if you like.
Your response, every application is unique under its own merits. Every application, every file, every instance. In this case, for instance, we did rely back on the provincial direction from the on-farm diversified use guidelines. So in response to the application, it was 2%. Under that criteria, there were a number of factors that were evaluated as part of that application. As applications become more involved or more intense, I don't know if I have a good answer for that.
Okay. Anyone else with questions or comments? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd, and thanks, Nathan, for your comment. My understanding is from when we did have the discussion at our last council meeting, was where this specific application, the majority of this is basically the mechanic's shop. There's no doubt, and certainly when you look at the square footage of the building and so on, that is the critical issue. The issue of the secondary on-farm diversified use is questionable in that a fair bit of the flower business is actually grown on the farm, and as Nathan had said before, is that it's truly more sort of a farm use. However, where it gets complicated is the fact that it's going to be inside the building and is going to have additional flowers and so on that are not necessarily grown on that farm. As well, then when we talked further in terms of the application itself, there was additional potential retail sales of tools and other equipment and fertilizers and so on. So that makes it more difficult. It is in the application to on-farm diversified use, but clearly when you look at the square footage of the secondary of them, being the flower shop, it's truly, in my mind at least, much more minor. But I think it has to be very well understood, and hopefully our county councillors are willing to convey this to county councils, that this as Mr. Garland has pointed out, has to be dealt with on its own merits. This is not, two secondary or non-farm, on-farm diversified uses, both of which are entitled to 2% of the land area. This is clearly not that. It has to, in terms of our area, be contained within that. And it's, in my view, the only way that I could support it was on the basis of what we saw before us. Is the flower shop is truly minor in nature and in the overall makeup of square footage and so on. So I think going forward that clearly this council needs to, as we look at the new official plan policies coming forward, we have to be very, very mindful of that. And I share your concern, Mayor Todd, in terms of, to use your words, we don't have mini malls sort of showing up all across our agricultural land. I don't think that was ever the intent. But on that basis, I'll just stop my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Helpful. I appreciate the little insight. That was useful. Okay. Anyone else with comments or questions on this? Okay. We don't have this on the floor right yet, right? So let's put it on the floor. That resolution as follows: that North Perth Council approves in principle zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 11-23 affecting the lands described as East Part Lot 22, Concession 4, Elmo Ward, Municipality of North Perth, 5621-981, and that North Perth Council provides a recommendation to Perth County Council, that official plan amendment number 219 affecting the lands described above be approved. Moved by Councillor Anstett, seconded by Deputy Mayor Callum. Further discussion or debate? Okay, seeing none, let's have that vote. And that's carried. Thank you. All right, let's move forward then to bring Councillor Johnston back into the chamber. Thank you, Councillor Anstett. Next up then is reports from the Corporate Services Department. As item 9.2.1, Council is presented with a report from the county's Emergency Management Program Coordinator, Rick Fraser, pertaining to the Emergency Management Program and Emergency Response Plan of the County of Perth and the lower tier municipalities under its alignment. The CRP is inclusive of the County of Perth and the 4 lower tier municipalities. This important work warrants consideration for adoption by Council. Mr. Fraser is before us for an overview of the work and the recommended action. Nice to have you with us, Mr. Fraser. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, pardon me, members of council. Thank you for having me this evening. I am here before you today to provide an update on the emergency management program. There's been significant efforts made this year by myself and the team to get us where we are today. I guess for scope and context, my position is within the county, but I'm the steward essentially of the emergency management program for the county and the 4 municipalities, working on things like compliance, implementation of programs, training, exercises, and ultimately, if required, response with the teams. So today I'm here for you again to update the plan. For background, 2022 seen a modernization review conducted with modernization grant money. Those that were included in that were the county, the 4 municipalities, the city of Stratford, and the town of St. Mary's. What was done was a third-party consultant reviewed our program in its entirety, all of the programs in their entirety, sort of a deep dive in what we were doing, how we were doing things, and then efficiencies and gaps that were noted throughout that audit. From that, there was a large report provided in December of 2022, presented to County Council January 2023. The report highlighted a lot of observations, a lot of good to-dos, etc. It really boiled down to 4 main areas, 2 of which were low-hanging fruit. We'll talk to those very quickly. One was a sort of an online sharing platform, I think a cloud-based platform that members of the various emergency control groups could access 24/7, either in office or at home. And that was done fairly quickly. I worked with the county's legislative services We utilize one of the existing systems, and as such, each of the control groups have access to their own emergency control group drive, which has all the documentation they require, declaration of emergencies, the plans, policies, et cetera. So that was an easy, low-hanging fruit one. The next was the assignment of sort of a primary CEMC with support of alternate CMCs within each of the municipalities. That was already currently being done. So the consultant's report, I question why that ended up in the report, because we were already doing it that way. So this position that I currently hold is the primary CMC. I report to the councils, I report to, and I work on behalf of the municipalities. I would insert into the EOC of the municipalities if required and work as part of that team. So those are the two really easy, low-hanging fruit. The two significant investments in time and energy were regarding training and the emergency response plan. So first things first, the emergency response plan was reviewed. Now the issue with the emergency response plan is North Perth has had one for many, many years. It's actually a legislative requirement that all municipalities and counties have an emergency response plan approved by council, adopted it and enacted, which is great. Each of the municipalities have their own. The problem is there were copies and pastes of each other. There was zero originality in them, and that's done on purpose because they're not easy documents to maintain to keep going. So when I first started, an idea I had that I floated to the group was having a centralized plan, what I commonly have referred to as a motherhood document that covers the county and all 4 municipalities. Stratford and St. Mary's are on their own, although they are using this new template, or in all likelihood are using this new template for their new plan that they're developing now. So this current ERP is a framework that all of the municipalities in the county EOC can use if we need to enact the plan itself. If there are emergencies significant enough in nature that we have to spin up the Emergency Operations Center, it provides framework, positions, who does what. It also highlights the province's incident management system, which we do follow, for management of all those emergencies. That is then supported by municipal-specific standard operating procedures. Those formulate the confidential appendices because they can contain, and the ones that are currently created do contain confidential information. Phone numbers of staff after hours, various pieces of information that are not for public consumption. So the plan itself, the one I'm before you today, will be posted on the websites in general, county and the municipal websites, and then the confidential appendices will reside on the SharePoint drive for us as municipal control group members to access as required. And those SOPs could be anything North Perth-centric or specific that requires special attention. I think one example in West Perth, for example, is the food industrial occupancy in West Perth. That's one that requires special E2 regulations. So that's going to require a special appendix that we will work with that occupant on. So things like that would form the appendices. Another big investment in time and effort was the training. So prior to 2022, prior to my start, the teams were using what's called the Incident Command System, or ICS. Very good system, used for many, many, many years. Still used today by our emergency services, fire services, police and ambulance still use the Incident Command System. It is very much a site model. So at a site, at an active fire scene or an active emergency, all those services would follow this Incident Command. It is what you would expect. It's linear, somebody's in charge, et cetera, et cetera. The province many years ago in 2002 tried to turn that into a program that could be used in a boardroom or used in an emergency operations center or in a council chamber. The issue at the ICS, it was too site specific, so they developed their own incident management system. They just really switched the word management for command, command for management. The word command doesn't live in the vernacular of a boardroom or a council chamber. It's not a term that's used. Management is a softer term, really meaning the same thing. We are managing, we're helping manage an emergency, but as EOC members, we are not at the scene. We are managing the needs, the wants of the people at scene, whether it's community members or whether it's the responders that are at scene. So from a training perspective, what we did in 2023 was implement the province's incident management system. I actually am a trainer for the minimum levels of INS 1 and 200. So it became easier to train because I can do so internally. I have a much more flexible schedule for each of the municipalities. Not to mention there was cost efficiencies with regards to the switch. Incident command system training. It was very cost prohibitive. It was $100 per person for the first session of the incident command system, ICS 100. We have roughly 50 members if you look at all 5 groups. So each of the municipalities, North Perth, for example, has 11 members as part of the emergency control group times $100 per person. That's for level 1. Level 2, which would have been $295 per person, again from North Perth specifically, roughly 11 to 14 people. So it became cost prohibitive to do that, especially when I'm able to train at no cost. The province provides this material to us, to me as a trainer, at no cost. So the big significant impact we had this year, all members of the emergency control groups have been trained up to the IMS 200 level, which is consistent across municipalities across the board. So we are at a consistent level. All municipalities in the County of Perth have now achieved the same level of training, which also then contributes to interoperability between our municipalities. If we had an issue where I had to insert somebody from Perth East into the North Perth EOC, we can do that because we've all had the same level of training. We're training together as a larger group, not just municipal specific. So the landscape changes, but the position is the same, and then we can help the municipalities respond more efficiently. So I just do want to point out and recognize the efforts of the municipalities. North Perth was very progressive in their training. We actually did training here a month and a half ago. It's time intensive. It's not an easy ask. It took a lot of time and a lot of people to make that training happen. So I do want to recognize those efforts. And then the plan before you today, that was a very collaborative effort between myself and the municipalities to review it, to go through it, to sort of massage that plan to get where we are today. So a lot of work went into this from a lot of people around the county. North Perth played a big hand in that. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fraser. Colleagues, questions, first comments? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kaysenberg, and thank you for your presentation. I just have a question about where the location of the emergency, I don't have the right wording here, like it's a center, like one's an incident command site where you would be at the incident, but there might be an emergency response site that may not be at the incident. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so, and each municipality might have that site. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does North Perth have one that's determined that, where it would be?
Yeah, absolutely. Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. So it's provincially mandated that each municipality has at minimum a primary emergency operations center, which works independently of the incident command site. So that could be, pick a tree anywhere throughout the municipality. That's the site. The EOC is removed from that, and it's done so on purpose. But so North Perth actually has a primary and an alternate emergency operations center, both of which are outlined in the emergency operations manual, which I've developed. So one is at the main fire hall. That's the primary. It is myself and the alternate have gone through that. We have stocked that with. I've created positional specific bins for each person. I talked with the document sharing platform, which is great. iCloud's all up there in the wherever the cloud happens to be. But at the end of the day, there's still the documentation, paperwork, documents, files, maps, all the stuff somebody could need if they enter into the room, in addition to the online platform. So North Perth has the primary, which is the main fire hall, and the secondary or alternate is at the Moncton Fire Hall, both of which have been tacked out, and IT infrastructure, and et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Secondary, through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. So the plan that you have here, is that very generic for each municipality, correct? So I'm just wondering why those details aren't embedded in here for us, just for us as a municipality. Example being that the fire hall would be our primary site as an example.
Through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. So a shift occurred within the emergency management, I don't want to say field, but there used to be, in the public document, they used to highlight all these emergency operation centers. The issue is during an emergency that has a high level of attention, if the emergency operation center is easy to find, people will go there, specifically places like media. And in the event of emergency where we would like to remove the media from the EOC, We would develop a media information center, which would be close to the EOC. We want them close, but not on top of us while we're trying to transition in and out of the EOC or do something within there. So we tend not to publish that information. Emergency Management Ontario does get that. I have to report compliance every single year. By the end of this month, actually, I have to report compliance, and they do get copies of where those are, but they're typically not for public consumption.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with questions? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. Thanks very much, Rick, for your presentation, and welcome aboard. I think it's fantastic to hear that we've made that switch, or are making it, to the incident management system. I, as a former alternate CMC, was very thankful to hear that. It's been a discussion at least for the last 7 or 8 years, and given your experience, and I think all the staff and that are associated with this, not only in North Perth, and I'm sure beyond, would like to hear that as well. I also think it's fantastic, and then you pointed out that depending on the length of the emergency that we're dealing with, we're going to have staff that are going to be coming in perhaps from other jurisdictions within Perth County to help us out. And the fact that we're going to have our standard operating procedures as well as the generic plan that are basically the same. With respect, I mean, there are very specific issues within North Perth that are different than Perth South and so on. But overall, the general issue is that the incident or the IMS system, the incident management system, is crucial, I think, in moving us forward. And as you say, the Emergency Operations Center, where the mayor and all the other staff or all the other individuals that are associated with that, they're help supporting the scene. That's their whole job. And as you've pointed out, our locations, and I'm sure council will have more training on this later, but it's good to see we're in good hands, not only with yourself, but also with our other staff, our alternate CMC here, as well as all the other staff that are receiving that training, which is so crucial and ongoing. As you say, it's required of us, and it does take a long time to do that. But if we don't invest the time, then we won't be ready for emergencies when they come. So thanks for your leadership, and I'm certainly in support of receiving the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Totally agree.
Anyone else? All right, I have a resolution. I'm going to make a 2-word adjustment to the resolution, if you don't mind, just to our practices, as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a report entitled County of Perth Emergency Management Program for information, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the new County Emergency Response Plan, ERP, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adopts the Emergency Management Program and Emergency Response Plan. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Fraser. Nice to have you with us. And you're welcome anytime. But don't come too often. It's one of those tensions. You know, if you're here too often, there's emergencies. We don't want to know. All right, we do want to know. All right, that moves us along to item 10 on our agenda. For item 10, councillors, are there any reports that you would like to ask of staff or committees? Seeing no indication of that, let's move to item 11. We have received no items of correspondence beyond that already shared for council's disposition. At this point, then, we turn to consideration of bylaws that have been recommended to us for action. Tonight, we have for our consideration a total of 6 bylaws. The enabling resolution outlines their number and purpose. Before I read the resolution for passing these bylaws, does any councillor wish to extract one or more of them for a more fulsome consideration? I'm not seeing any hands waving, so as follows. The following bylaws are hereby passed. 141-2023 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement with Burlett Farms Limited. 142-2023 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement with Marvin Horst. Bylaw 143-2023 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement with Hugh Haverkamp. Number 144-2023 being a bylaw to adopt an emergency management program and emergency response plan and to meet other requirements under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. 148-2023 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 6-ZB-1999 as amended. And number 149-2023 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 6-ZB-1999 as amended. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Anstett. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Did you lose?
I'm in favor.
All right. Councillor Anstett records a manual in favor vote, and that is carried thus. Let's move to item 11 on our agenda. We have, oh no, we're past that. Let's go past that. My goodness, let's not do a repeat of anything, right? As item 13.1, do any councillors wish leave to give notice of motion this evening? Anyone wishing to give leave? No. All right. All right, let's move then to item 14 on our agenda. For item 14, are there any announcements that would be a benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? And if we have any connected remotely, they could weigh in, but it looks like the clerk says we're alone at this point. Anyone with announcements? Seeing no announcements, that brings us to agenda item 15. We have no matters for consideration in a closed session meeting of council this evening. Thus, we can skip through 16, which is about a report from a closed session, and we have nothing to report. I note that Councillor Johnston is exiting the chamber at this point in regards to a matter that he's declared on. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. I have a draft of that before me as item 17.1, which reads as follows: that bylaw 150-2023, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of Municipality of North Perth, is hereby passed. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kellum, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Noorda. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. And we'll invite Councillor Johnston back for the grand finale. Councillors, we have completed the deliberation and taken action on the business that was placed before us tonight. It's thus appropriate to consider adjournment. And to that end, I have a resolution as follows: that the council meeting adjourns at 8:47 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, December 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Anstett. Not debatable. Let's have that vote. And it did not, there it is. I was going to say it did not come up for me, strangely enough. I'd be happy to adjourn. And that is carried. Colleagues, we meet again for general business of regular council meeting on Monday, December 11th. Until that date, this meeting is adjourned.